Welcome to today's explainer. Have you ever walked into a room and just instantly felt someone's presence? Like, they haven't even spoken a single word yet, but you immediately know they command the room. Well, that isn't magic. It's actually mechanics. Today, we're unpacking the exact blueprint of how we present ourselves to the world. We're looking at a real masterclass in presence, focusing on a remarkably dense piece of source material that outlines what we're calling the architecture of credibility. By mapping this out step by step, we are going to unlock the exact mechanics of how credibility is built. So get comfortable and prepare to take some mental notes.
Okay, so here is the exact core text we are analyzing today. It reads, in order to create credibility, the participants need to gain trust and respect from the audience. So this module helps participants to be competent, trustworthy, and dynamic when speaking with others. Now, why is this tiny two-sentence paragraph so brilliant? Well, because in just over 30 words, it gives us the entire universe of public presence. It perfectly outlines a distinct problem, a specific requirement from the listener, a solution for the speaker, and a methodology to actually execute it. This is incredibly dense, highly actionable material. We're going to put this right under a microscope and pull apart its architecture, detail by detail, to really understand the true stakes of communication.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our literal architectural blueprint today covers 6 parts. First, the architecture of credibility. Second, the audience foundation. Third, pillar 1, being competent. Fourth, pillar 2, being trustworthy. Fifth, pillar 3, being dynamic. And sixth, mastering your presence. Starting with part 1, the architecture of credibility. Now, looking back at our source text, the very first phrase is, in order to create credibility. And I really want to draw your attention to that specific verb, create. The text implies that credibility isn't just this aura you passively have, right? It's not something you're simply born with. It is an active construction project. Every single time you open your mouth in a meeting or step out onto a stage, you are actively building an architecture from the ground up.
So the crucial point is, we can actually derive a conceptual equation directly from the text. Basically, credibility equals gaining from audience plus speaking with others. The source material brilliantly divides this whole process into an interaction with 2 distinct halves. On one side, you have what the speaker must gain, the audience requirements, and on the flip side, you have the action of the speaker themselves, what happens when they're speaking with others. Let's really look at the details here. What happens when this equation is unbalanced? Think of a presenter who just talks at you for an hour, right? Just rattling off data. They're certainly speaking with others, but they are gaining absolutely nothing in return. They aren't reading the room, they aren't building rapport, and because that first half is missing, the credibility is never actually created.
Moving right along to part 2, the audience foundation. Before we even talk about what you're saying or how you are speaking, we absolutely must focus on what the speaker has to extract from the audience. If credibility is an architecture, this right here is the concrete slab it rests upon. Without this, nothing else you build is going to stand. The source text explicitly separates trust and respect as 2 completely distinct prerequisites that participants must gain from their audience to create credibility. Notice they aren't just lumped together as a single concept. This is a massive distinction when we detail out the mechanics of communication. For instance, think about it like this. Picture a highly specialized surgeon. You might deeply respect their incredible technical skill and encyclopedic medical knowledge, right? But you might not actually trust them to give you comforting, unbiased advice about a really risky procedure if they completely lack bedside manner. Conversely, you trust your best friend implicitly with your absolute deepest secrets, but you wouldn't necessarily respect their authority to perform that complex surgery. The text demands both. To build true credibility, you must gain their trust and you must gain their respect. Only then is the foundation poured. Let's move to part 3 and see how this builds. Pillar 1, being competent. The source text hinges on a single, super important word, so. It says, so, this module helps participants to be. That so is the crucial bridge from the audience's requirement directly to the practical solution for the speaker. To cross that bridge, the module provides us with a clear 3-step roadmap to help participants succeed when speaking with others. Step 1, be competent. Step 2, be trustworthy. Step 3, be dynamic. This is the exact sequence the source provides to construct those required elements of trust and respect we were just talking about. Let's define that first essential pillar, competent. In the architecture of credibility, competence is the structural steel. It firmly addresses the respect side of our foundation. But competence isn't just about knowing a bunch of facts. In practice, how does an audience actually perceive competence? Well, it comes through in your organization, your clarity, and your precision. It is the ability to distill really complex information into something easily understandable. If you ramble, or if you just can't concisely articulate your point when speaking with others, the audience's respect is immediately lost, completely regardless of your actual internal knowledge. True presence starts with an undeniable outward demonstration of capability.
Number 4, Pillar 2, being trustworthy. Now, notice how the text creates a really neat, closed logical loop here. The module specifically trains participants to project trustworthiness when speaking. Why? Because you obviously cannot gain trust from the audience foundation if you aren't projecting trustworthiness as a speaker. It's a beautiful mirroring in the text. Trustworthiness means being safe, reliable, and entirely authentic. Actually, let's detail what authenticity looks like in the real world. It very often means vulnerability. Think about a time a leader stood up in front of a room, admitted they made a mistake, and explained exactly how they were going to fix it. Counterintuitively, their trustworthiness skyrockets, doesn't it? By dropping that facade of perfection, they become human and reliable. And that is exactly how you secure the trust side of the equation.
Which brings us to Part 5. Pillar 3, being dynamic. Look, you could be highly competent and completely trustworthy, but if your delivery is totally flat, the architecture is incomplete. Dynamic, the third and final speaker trait. This is what brings action and energy to your interactions. The text specifically says when speaking with others. Speaking is an active, real-time event. Being dynamic is literally the electricity running through the architecture you've built. Practically speaking, this means utilizing vocal variety, leaning into strategic pauses, maintaining really sharp eye contact, and showing genuine passion for your subject. Energy acts as a multiplier. If you are already competent and trustworthy, being dynamic forces the audience to actually pay attention to those qualities. Without this final behavioral trait, your credibility just remains theoretical rather than an impactful reality.
And finally, Part 6, mastering your presence. Let's look at the big picture. And this brilliantly illustrates how it all comes together in one final conceptual equation. Competent plus trustworthy plus dynamic equals credibility. This mathematically fulfills the goals stated in the very first sentence of our source text. Let's summarize the whole narrative we've detailed out today. Your competence earns the audience's respect. Your trustworthiness secures their trust. And your dynamics ensures they actually lean in and listen to what you have to say. By successfully taking what the module teaches and combining these 3 specific traits when speaking with others, you actively create the credibility you set out to achieve. The blueprint is complete.
So the source text has given us the entire blueprint. You know the architecture now. You know that you must gain trust and respect, and that you do so by being competent and trustworthy. Next time you step into a meeting room or out onto a stage, I want you to remember this exact architecture. You know the blueprint. But are you ready to be dynamic? Knowing the mechanics is really only half the battle. Bringing the energy to build it in real time, well, that's up to you. Keep building, and I will catch you in the next explainer.